Have you ever woken before dawn, when the house is still and the world hasn't quite decided what it will become? In those quiet hours, it can feel as if every unfinished thought, every unspoken worry finds its way to your side. Sometimes it isn't the noise of life that unsettles us, but the hush that follows when there is nowhere left to hide from our own minds. There is a question I've carried for many years, though I've never been certain how to answer it. It arrives without warning, like the hush after a long-held breath. What would it mean to feel truly at ease, even when nothing is certain? Perhaps you've wondered too, maybe in the soft hours of the morning or in the middle of an ordinary afternoon. You've felt it, the quiet ache of waiting for life to finally calm down, for every loose end to tie itself neatly before you allow yourself to rest. And yet, like leaves drifting across a pond, some thoughts never seem to leave us. We don't need to hurry tonight. There is no urgency here, no expectation to figure it all out. Perhaps this is the moment to simply notice what's here, to sit together in the gentle company of questions. Because somewhere inside the spaces we overlook, there may be a kind of freedom that doesn't require everything to be perfect. And it makes me wonder, what might happen if we stopped waiting for the world to settle and began to settle ourselves? Part 1. The present moment is your only safe place. There is something profoundly human about the way our minds wander, especially as the years gather behind us like autumn leaves fallen softly on the path. You might be sitting quietly in your favorite chair, the same chair you've sat in for decades, watching the golden afternoon light tilt across the living room carpet, and still, your thoughts can carry you far from that moment. They drift back to old regrets, words you wish you'd spoken, choices you wish you'd made, or they leap ahead into an uncertain tomorrow, weaving stories of what might go wrong. It is in this quiet space between memory and anticipation that worry finds its foothold, whispering its familiar warnings. I once heard an old Zen parable that speaks so clearly to this struggle. There was a monk, elderly and stooped, who had spent most of his life studying the nature of the mind. One day, a young man came to see him, eyes wide with confusion, heart burdened by an endless stream of worries. "Master," the young man began, "I can't seem to stop my thoughts. From the moment I open my eyes, they're already racing. What if I lose my job? What if my wife stops loving me? What if my health fails? I feel like I'm living inside a storm I can't escape." The old monk looked at him for a long time, his gaze kind but unflinching. Then he said softly, "Have you ever noticed that no matter how hard the storm rages in your mind, the ground beneath your feet is always still?" The young man frowned, unsure what the old man meant. So the master took him by the hand and led him outside, where the wind was tossing the branches of the trees. "Feel your feet," the monk whispered. "Feel how they touch the earth." The young man did as he was told, and for a single moment he felt something shift. His breath slowed. The world seemed to steady itself. The storm of thought lost a little of its power. This story has stayed with me because it reminds us that the present moment is not just a concept. It is a place, a living refuge we can step into any time. The Buddha himself taught, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." These words might sound simple at first glance, but if you let them sink in, they carry the quiet weight of liberation. When you are truly here, when your mind stops galloping toward what was or what might be, you discover a space where nothing is lacking. The heart can rest, the body can soften. Perhaps you too have noticed this in small, unremarkable moments. A sip of tea when you're not thinking about anything at all, the way the afternoon sun feels warm on your cheek, the hush that falls across the room when you let your shoulders unclench. In these moments, there is no past to regret and no future to fear. There is only the softness of what is real, right now. But of course, the mind will not surrender its habits without a struggle. Even when you try to be present, the thoughts will keep coming. They will whisper, "But what about tomorrow's test results? What about that phone call you're dreading?" And in those moments, you have a choice. You can believe the thoughts and let them pull you back into the storm, or you can practice returning again and again to the ground beneath your feet. You can say gently, "Yes, I hear you, but right now, I am safe. Right now, I am breathing." And maybe you will wonder if this moment is enough. Why do I keep searching for something more? That is a question only you can answer. The search itself is a habit, a reflex that says life must be different to be okay. But here, in this ordinary moment, is all the peace you have ever longed for. So I invite you, just for a breath, to pause. Feel your chest rise and fall. Notice the life that is here, waiting for you to arrive. And as you sit in this gentle awareness, ask yourself, what would it feel like to trust this moment as it is? When you are ready, we will walk into the next reflection together, carrying this small seed of presence in your hand. Part 2. Acceptance is not giving up. It's giving yourself permission to breathe. There is a quiet kind of suffering that grows from the belief that life must always match our plans. You may have felt it yourself, sitting alone in the evening with the television humming in the corner, thinking about all the ways things were supposed to turn out differently. Perhaps it's the marriage you thought would last a lifetime, or the health you once trusted without question, or the career you built with steady hands that somehow slipped away. In these moments, when the heart aches for what used to be, it is so natural to feel that if you accept your circumstances, you are surrendering to defeat. But acceptance, in the way the Buddha taught, has nothing to do with giving up. It is not about folding your hands and letting life wash over you without care. Rather, it is the choice to stop fighting a battle you can never win, the battle against reality itself. I remember a story of an elderly woman named Hana who lived in a small village nestled between the rice paddies and the low green hills. For many years, Hana was known for her energy. She rose before dawn each day, swept the courtyard, prepared meals for her family, and tended her little garden of medicinal herbs. But when her husband died, something in her spirit collapsed. She kept moving as she always had, but inside she carried a tightness, a constant resistance to the life she hadn't asked for. One morning she went to see a wandering monk who was passing through the village. "I am so tired," she confessed. "I do everything I can to keep going, but nothing feels right. I keep thinking if I just try harder, I'll feel normal again." The monk sat with her for a long time, watching the wind move through the tall grasses. Finally he asked, "When the river overflows its banks, do you stand in its path and demand it return to its course?" Hana looked at him with weary eyes. "Of course not," she said. "What good would that do?" The monk nodded. "So why do you stand in the flood of your life, insisting it obey your will? The river does not care whether you accept it, but you will drown if you cannot learn to float." For Hana, those words were like a small lantern in the darkness. She began, little by little, to stop telling herself that her grief was a mistake she needed to fix. Instead of waking each morning with the burden of making everything feel the way it used to, she started each day with a quiet acknowledgement. This is what is true right now. It did not erase her sadness, but it softened the hardness around it. When you hear the word acceptance, you might worry that it means you must approve of your losses or pretend that you are unaffected. But true acceptance is gentler than that. It simply means that you stop pretending the present moment is something other than it is. You let go of the exhausting story that life must look a certain way in order to be worthy of your peace. The Buddha once said, "Whatever has the nature to arise will also pass away." Even the most painful seasons of life are not permanent, but the more you resist them, the longer they linger, because you are clinging to the fantasy that if you struggle enough, reality will change. I wonder, as you sit here listening, If you can remember a time when letting go of your expectations brought you unexpected relief. Maybe it was the day you finally allowed yourself to weep without shame, or the moment you admitted that you could not control another person's choices, no matter how much you loved them. In that instant, did you feel how your chest loosened? Did you notice that even in sorrow, there was room to breathe? Acceptance does not mean you stop hoping or growing or caring. It means you stop waging war on the present. It means you trust that you can move forward without having to rewrite every page of what has already been written. So tonight, if your heart feels tight with the need to fix, to change, to make perfect, I invite you to place a hand over your chest and whisper, "I am allowed to rest here, just as I." When you are ready, we will explore the next reflection together. A gentle look at the thoughts that pass through your mind and how they may not be quite as true as they seem. Part 3. Not every thought deserves your attention or your belief. If you sit quietly for even a little while, perhaps in the hush of early morning when the kettle is singing softly on the stove and the world has not quite woken, you may begin to notice how many thoughts pass through your mind. Some arrive like old friends, familiar in their shape and tone. Others come unbidden, carrying a sharp edge of fear or doubt. It can feel as if these thoughts have a life of their own, as if they are not just visitors, but the very truth about who you are and what the future holds. Many years ago, I met a man named Samuel who understood this struggle better than most. He was a retired carpenter, his hands still thick and strong even as age had begun to slow them. Every afternoon he would sit in a small wooden chair he had built himself, gazing out the window at the cottonwood trees beyond his porch. He told me once that the hardest part of growing older was not the aches in his joints or the quiet that settled over the house when his children moved away. It was the constant chorus of thoughts that filled that silence. "They never stop," he said, his voice low. "They tell me I've wasted time, that I should have been a better father, that something terrible is waiting just around the corner." One evening, Samuel decided to visit a Buddhist teacher who had come to offer meditation classes at the local community hall. He expected to learn some technique for silencing his mind once and for all, to rid himself of these relentless voices. But instead, the teacher invited the small circle of elders to close their eyes and simply watch their thoughts as if they were clouds drifting across the sky. "Don't fight them," she said gently. "Don't chase them, just notice them. And when you find yourself believing them, try saying, 'This is only a thought.'" At first, Samuel found this practice almost impossible. Every time he closed his eyes, the same critical refrain began again. "You are failing. You are alone. You are not ready for what comes next." But the teacher encouraged him to persist, to keep noticing without judgment. Slowly, something began to shift. He realized that these thoughts were like old recordings, voices he had heard for so long that he mistook them for truth. Yet when he looked at them with soft curiosity instead of fear, they began to lose their power. The Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." But he also taught that the mind is not an enemy to be vanquished. It is a garden that can be tended with care. If you water the seeds of fear and regret, those plants will grow tall and tangled, shading every corner of your life. If you learn to notice them without feeding them, eventually they wither. I sometimes think of thoughts as travelers knocking on the door of your attention. Some bring useful information or gentle reminders, but many are just echoes, old worries and imagined catastrophes that have nothing to do with the reality of this moment. You don't have to let them all inside. You don't have to offer them a seat at your table. Perhaps as you listen to this, you can recall the last time a thought led you down a path of needless suffering. Maybe it was the idea that you were failing simply because you felt tired, or the conviction that your worth depended on staying busy, even when your body was asking for rest. How might it feel to greet those thoughts not with panic, but with a soft voice that says, I see you, but you are only a thought. There is no need to argue or to banish them. The practice is simply to return to this moment, to the feeling of your breath rising and falling, to the quiet presence that watches everything without judgment. Over time, you may begin to discover a spaciousness inside you, a place where thoughts come and go but cannot define you. And so tonight, I invite you to pause when the mind grows loud. Take a slow breath, feel your feet on the floor, and ask yourself, is this thought the truth or simply a story passing through? When you are ready, we will step into our next reflection together, an exploration of the tender truth that even your fears, as heavy as they sometimes feel, are never destined to last forever. Part 4. Impermanence means your fear cannot last forever. There is a tender truth that lives at the very heart of the Buddha's teaching, a truth so simple that it can be easy to overlook, especially when we are caught in the restless tide of worry. Everything changes. This understanding, known as impermanence, is like a quiet lantern we can carry into the darkest corners of our lives. It illuminates what we forget when fear tightens its grip, that no feeling, however overwhelming, is permanent. I once sat with a woman named Eleanor on a spring afternoon when the dogwoods were beginning to bloom. She was in her 70s, her hair soft as silver thread, her hands folded in her lap like two tired birds. She told me that some days she woke up with a weight on her chest, so heavy it felt like it would never lift. I think that's what frightens me most, she whispered. Not the fear itself, but the sense that it will stay with me until the end. I listened, and then I shared with her a story the Buddha once told, a story of a young mother named Kisa Gotami. When Kisa's only child grew sick and died, she was overcome with such grief that she carried his small body from house to house, begging for medicine to bring him back to life. No one could help her. Finally, someone sent her to the Buddha. He looked upon her sorrow with great compassion and said, "Bring me a mustard seed from a home that has never known death, and I will heal your child." With a flicker of hope, Kisa knocked on every door in the village, but in every home, she heard the same confession. We too have lost someone we loved. As the sun fell behind the hills, Kisa understood what the Buddha had wished her to see, not as a punishment, but as a tender truth, that loss and change are woven into the very fabric of being alive. When she returned, empty-handed but no longer frantic, she laid her child to rest. Her grief did not disappear that day, but it became something she could hold rather than something that held her captive. Eleanor closed her eyes as I finished, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she sighed, the kind of sigh that feels like letting go. "I suppose," she said softly, "I have survived so many sorrows already." And it was true. The fear that seemed so permanent had come and gone many times before, like weather moving across the fields. The Buddha often reminded his followers, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. Perhaps you've noticed this yourself, even if you did not have a name for it, the way grief softens its edges with time, or how anxiety that once felt unending eventually grows quiet, like a child who tires herself out crying. When you believe your fear will last forever, you begin to identify with it. You tell yourself, "I am an anxious person. I am a failure. I am broken." But impermanence invites you to see that you are none of these things. You are the one who observes each feeling rise, crest, and fade, like a wave dissolving back into the ocean. The next time your heart begins to race or your thoughts spin their anxious stories, I invite you to place a hand over your chest, feel the gentle rhythm beneath your palm, and whisper, "This too will pass." It may not pass as quickly as you wish. It may linger longer than feels fair, but even so, it is not your forever. And if you wonder how to trust this truth when fear feels so real, you might ask yourself, Can I remember another time I was certain I wouldn't make it through, and yet here I am, still breathing. Impermanence does not mean we are immune to pain. It means that no pain is our final destination. It means that every storm, no matter how fierce, has an ending we cannot yet see. And so, with this small ember of hope, we can turn gently toward our next reflection. The possibility of laying down the heavy burden of control and discovering what freedom might feel like in its place. Part 5. Let go of control. That was never your burden to carry. If you have lived long enough, and if you are here, you surely have, then you have already learned how life can defy even your most careful plans. Perhaps you once believed that if you were good enough, prepared enough, vigilant enough, you could keep heartbreak at bay, steer every outcome, and hold the people you loved close forever. It's a tender, deeply human instinct, this longing to protect what matters by controlling how it unfolds. I remember a man named Walter who carried this burden for most of his 82 years. Walter was a father of 3, a retired postal worker who prided himself on doing everything just right. He balanced the checkbook down to the penny. He maintained the same tidy lawn for 4 decades. When his wife fell ill, he became her tireless caregiver, insisting he could manage everything on his own. But after she died, the scaffolding of control he had spent a lifetime building began to collapse. In the stillness that followed, Walter was left alone with the one truth he had always resisted. No amount of planning could protect him from change. He started attending a small meditation group at the library, though he was skeptical at first. One evening, the teacher read aloud a short passage from the Buddha's teachings. "You only lose what you cling to." The words struck Walter like a bell. He had clung to his routines, his sense of responsibility, and his conviction that if he tried hard enough, he could keep everyone safe. But all that clinging had only made the inevitable losses heavier to bear. That night, he told the group, "I used to think letting go was the same as giving up. Now I wonder if it's the only way I'll ever breathe easy again." His voice trembled as he spoke, but there was a softness in it that hadn't been there before. Letting go of control does not mean you stop caring. It does not mean you resign yourself to indifference or apathy. It simply means you recognize the limits of your power. You can plant seeds, but you cannot command them to sprout. You can love someone with your whole heart, but you cannot decide how they will love you back, or for how long. You can care for your body, but you cannot guarantee it will never falter. There is a story of the Buddha that has always helped me understand this. Once, a disciple came to him in great distress because everything in his life felt uncertain. He worried about losing his health, his family, and the small wealth he had worked so hard to earn. The Buddha listened patiently, and then he picked up a handful of leaves. "Which is more?" he asked. "These leaves in my hand, or all the leaves in this forest?" The disciple replied, "The leaves in the forest, of course." The Buddha nodded. "In the same way, what you know is like the leaves in my hand. What you do not know, the future, the unfolding of karma, the causes and conditions you cannot see, is like all the leaves in the forest. No amount of worry will ever let you gather them all." When we try to control everything, we become like a clenched fist, tight, rigid, exhausted. But the truth is, life will never agree to be tamed by our fear. It will slip through our grasp, no matter how hard we hold on. And in that slipping, there is an invitation to trust that we do not need to know everything to be okay. I wonder if you can recall a moment when you finally let go, when you stopped rehearsing the past or pre-living the future, and something inside you softened. Maybe it was when you realized your grown children would find their own way without your constant guidance, or when you stopped trying to fix someone you loved and simply offered your quiet presence instead. In those moments, didn't you feel a lightness, however fleeting, like setting down a heavy pack you'd carried too long? Tonight, if you feel the ache of all that you cannot control, I invite you to place your hands, open and relaxed, in your lap. Breathe in, and as you exhale, imagine releasing just one small thing you've been holding too tightly. You don't have to let go of everything all at once. Even the smallest surrender can make room for peace. And when you are ready, we will walk together into our next reflection. A tender look at how the voice of worry inside you is not your enemy, but a part of you that longs to be met with kindness. Part 6. Speak kindly to the voice inside you that worries. There is a voice that lives in nearly every human heart, a voice that began as a whisper long ago and, over the years, end to speak with authority. It says things like, "Be careful, don't forget." Something bad could happen. Some call it the inner critic, others the anxious mind. But whatever name you give it, this voice has likely accompanied you through every season of your life. It has sat with you in waiting rooms, walked with you through sleepless nights, and crept into your thoughts in the quiet hours just before dawn. I met a woman once named Miriam who understood this voice better than she wished she did. Miriam had been a nurse for nearly 40 years, the kind of person everyone depended on. She had raised 3 children mostly on her own, cared for aging parents, and managed 1,000 details with competence and grace. But when she finally retired, a curious thing happened. Without the constant busyness to distract her, her mind began to fill with doubts she could not quiet. "I wake up every morning with a feeling of dread," she told me, her eyes bright with tears she tried to blink away. "It's like my mind is always asking me, what if something goes wrong today? And no matter how I answer, the question keeps coming back." I shared with her a story the Buddha once told about the nature of fear. There was a farmer who had an old ox that refused to plow his field. Every day the farmer would shout and beat the ox, hoping to force it into submission. But the more he fought it, the more stubborn and wild the ox became. Finally, in desperation, the farmer sought the counsel of a wise monk. The monk listened patiently and then said, "What if you stopped beating the ox? What if you simply sat beside it until it trusted your touch?" The farmer was incredulous. Sit beside it? But he had tried everything else. So the next morning, he approached the ox without anger. He sat near it in the dust and waited. Days passed. The ox watched him warily at first, then with curiosity, then finally with acceptance. And when the farmer stood at last, the ox rose beside him, ready to walk. When Miriam heard this story, she pressed her hands to her heart. "That's how I've treated my own fear," she whispered. "I've been beating it, hoping it would go away." Her shoulders dropped as if she'd just set down something she'd been carrying too long. Many of us were taught, perhaps without words, that fear is weakness. That if you feel anxious, it means you are failing somehow. But the Buddha taught that compassion is not reserved only for others. It is a gift we must learn to offer ourselves, especially to the parts of us that feel most fragile. "You yourself," he said, "as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Imagine for a moment how your life might feel if you spoke to your worry as you would to a frightened child. When that familiar voice rises, what if something happens? What if I'm not enough? You might pause and answer, I hear you. You are trying to protect me. But right now we are safe. This simple act does not mean you agree with the worry, nor that you let it run your life. It means you acknowledge its presence without fear or hatred. Miriam began a small practice. Each morning before she left her bed, she would place a hand over her heart and say softly, "It's okay to feel this way. I am here with you." At first it felt awkward, even silly, but over time something inside her began to soften. The anxious voice didn't disappear, but it no longer needed to shout to be heard. It became less of an enemy and more of a companion who could be soothed rather than suppressed. Perhaps you too have an inner voice that tries to prepare you for every possibility, to guard you against all that is uncertain. You don't have to banish it. You don't have to pretend it doesn't exist. You only have to meet it with the same tenderness you would offer someone you love. Tonight, if you find yourself tangled in worry, you might ask gently, what is this fear trying to tell me? What would happen if I simply sat beside it for a while? And when the answers come, or even if they don't, remember that you are allowed to feel what you feel without shame. When you are ready, we will step into the final reflection together, an exploration of a joy that does not wait for perfection, but instead arises here and now, in the quiet simplicity of being alive. Part 7. Joy is not a reward for a perfect life. It is a practice you can begin today. Somewhere along the winding road of life, many of us began to believe that happiness was something we had to earn, that it was a prize reserved for the moment we finally got everything in order. Perhaps you felt it too, this quiet bargain you struck without knowing. I'll be happy when the house is paid off, when the diagnosis comes back clean, when the family is together again. And so, year after year, you postponed your own contentment, thinking it would arrive when you'd done enough, become enough, proved yourself worthy of rest. I once knew a man named Gerald who carried this belief so tightly it left no space for joy to slip in. Gerald was a meticulous person. He balanced his checkbook every week, mowed his lawn in perfect stripes, and kept a calendar that tracked every appointment down to the hour. When he retired, he told himself he'd finally learned to relax. But each morning, he woke with the same tightness in his chest, scanning for problems to solve. One afternoon, he sat across from me in a small library meeting room, the windows open to let in the warm breeze, and he confessed, "I thought I'd be happy once I had the time to enjoy my life. But the truth is, I don't know." I shared with Gerald a story I first heard from an old monk many years ago. It was about a man who spent his whole life chasing after peace. He climbed mountains, visited holy teachers, read countless books, always looking for the one secret that would finally quiet his mind. One evening, exhausted from his searching, he stopped to rest beside a small river. As he sat watching the moon reflected in the water, he felt, for the first time, a gentle stillness rising inside him. It was then he realized the truth he'd been running past all along. Peace isn't something you find when the journey ends. It's something you notice when you finally stop running. The Buddha spoke of this same simplicity when he taught, "There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path." At first, those words can sound almost impossible to believe. You might wonder, how can I feel joy when there is still so much uncertainty, so much that aches? But joy is not a denial of life's imperfection. It is the tender decision to be present with all that is unfinished, to let gratitude soften the edges of longing. Gerald began to experiment with this idea in small ways. Instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, he started to look for moments of quiet beauty. The way sunlight warmed his kitchen table in the morning, the laughter that bubbled up unexpectedly when he called an old friend, the relief of sinking into bed after a long day. He would pause, even if only for a breath, to notice these moments. At first, they felt fleeting, like thin threads too delicate to hold. But over time, they wove themselves into something stronger, a gentle net of belonging that reminded him he didn't have to earn joy, he only had to recognize it. Perhaps you too have been waiting for your life to settle before you allow yourself to feel grateful. Maybe you've told yourself that once the problems are solved, once the past is healed, once the future feels safe, Then you will exhale and finally be content. But the truth is, there will always be something unresolved. The house will need repairs. The body will grow older. The world will keep changing in ways you can't predict. So I wonder, what would it feel like to practice joy anyway? To notice the softness of your pillow at night, the taste of your morning coffee, the quiet satisfaction of a small task completed. What if these were not trivial moments, but the very fabric of a life well lived? Tonight, if you feel ready, I invite you to let go of the idea that joy must be perfect to be real. Take a breath and look around you just as you are, just as everything is. And as you exhale, perhaps you will hear somewhere in your own heart the quiet assurance that this moment is enough. Because in the end, joy is not the final prize waiting at the end of all your striving. It is the gift that has been here all along, waiting patiently for you to notice. And as you rest in that gentle knowing, I invite you to carry these reflections into your days ahead, not as commandments or rules, but as soft lanterns you can light whenever the road feels dark. May you walk gently. May you breathe deeply. May you remember that in this very moment, you are already enough. As we come to the quiet close of this reflection, perhaps you can feel something softening inside you, a small loosening of the places that have been clenched for too long. Tonight, we've wandered together through the hidden chambers of worry and the quiet doorways of peace. We have remembered that the present moment is the only place where life truly happens, that acceptance is not giving up, but finally allowing yourself to breathe, that not every thought deserves your belief, and that even the heaviest fear is destined to pass. We have spoken about the relief of laying down the burden of control and the surprising tenderness that comes when you greet your own anxious mind with kindness instead of judgment. And we have discovered that joy does not wait for the world to be perfect. It is a practice available in every ordinary day. I wonder, as you sit here in the soft glow of your own listening, whether you might ask yourself, which of these truths have I already known in some hidden part of me? Which of these small freedoms have I glimpsed but turned away from, thinking they were meant for someone else? Maybe you have spent years believing that peace is something you will find when everything is finally resolved. Or perhaps you've carried the silent burden of thinking you must hold everyone together, even as you felt yourself unraveling. Tonight, I'd like to offer you this gentle reminder. You do not have to wait to be worthy of rest. You do not have to wait to be worthy of joy. There is no need to earn what has always been yours. So as you move back into your day, or into the hush of evening, I invite you to carry a simple question with you. What would it feel like to stop striving, just for a little while, and to let this moment be enough? Perhaps in that pause, you will find a small door opening, a doorway back to the part of you that has been waiting so patiently to be welcomed home. If these reflections have touched something in your heart, I'd be honored if you would share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story, your voice, might be the light someone else needs to find their way. And if you'd like to keep exploring these quiet paths together, I warmly invite you to subscribe to this channel. Until we meet again, may you walk gently with yourself, and may you remember that even in your most uncertain hours, there is a deeper wholeness that has never left you.